and it's kind of a fascinating thing. Another misconception is that a lot of people think of dark and light at war. And it's very interesting because I don't see that, right? It's morning now, it was night last night. I didn't see there was no big battle between the dark and the light. The dark gradually faded in the light into the darkness. There's a balance there, there's a relationship there, and it's a relationship between two forms of energy. And when that energy, what I'm saying though, like I say, that's why this is confusing. Because that doesn't mean that darkness isn't the absence of light. It's just that dark energy is something in itself. And the fundamental relationship in the universe is between this dark energy and this light energy. And whenever two energies come together, into a relationship, it creates spirals, Fibonacci spirals. And, like that, go out and measure 1.62, approaching 1.62. And so, to me, for the sake of today, the universe is, and in the center of the spiral, there's what's called a vortex street. There's a vertical column, kind of like tree of life type of thing, with the spiral of the tree growing around it. And so, I just want to say then, see, that's where we're at. Time is the vortex street, traveling down through the center of the spiraling universe that is the result of the interaction of the fundamental energies. And so are we. So are we. We operate the same way, right? We have a yin and yang within ourselves. We have different energies within ourselves. And we have, like in the physical body, the spinal column, which represents that sort of vortex street along which these circling energies do it. In other words, we are multidimensional, and before we can understand human relationships, we need to understand that there are lots of relationships going on within ourselves. One of which is between the various kinds of energy that we have. We're connected to spirit, hopefully, and then we have imagination, what they call the causal energies. Then you have your mental energies, your thought world and everything. Then you have your feelings and your emotional energies. And then you have various different types of energy, they call them etheric or whatever. And it's like within that realm that people are dealing with acupuncture and stuff like that. And then finally you have the physical body, which is the manifestation of our form in this world, right? And all of these things are relating to one another. We were talking about that last night, and it's very complex because some of the energies are relational energies. Like I would tend to say the difference, in terms of feeling and emotion. We are floating on a sea of feeling, and emotion is the waves that run through it. And those waves actually run through all the energy fields. But that's just a metaphor. I'm not saying that it's true. It's just that, because a lot of times people, anyway, I'll just say that because we have limited time. My 15 minutes isn't up yet. So this is, sort of the nature of the universe. It's the nature of ourselves too, as multidimensional beings. And when you relate to people, you're actually relating on all those levels, right? And every one of those energies has different vibrations, right? And you might resonate, to different things. And people have all kinds of blocked energy and stuff like that. So some people you might find you really click with them intellectually. But emotionally, there's something wrong, right? You might be attracted to somebody physically, in that way. But you think they're a dumbbell or something. Relationship, we are multidimensional. We are multidimensional, and human relationships are multidimensional. Now, when you have two, then I'm just going to use one other sheet here, and then because I just think, because I said touching on sacred geometry, it's like if you bring the two together, then you get the same thing. And what's kind of interesting, see, if you only have one, then you have a point, right? One point, but the point implies a circumference. So Meister Eckhart, in the oneness, it's like, there's God unmanifest and God manifest, and he talks about God manifest as. a sphere or a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is infinite, right? And it's all one, and there's no division, right? We're one in the spirit, kind of like that. And really, each one of us, I'll cover the ego and the soul right now, because the soul, in my view, really is, you look out at the vast universe, right, through your eyes, right? And but if you look within, if you had eyes and could experience within, there is an inner universe as vast as the external universe that we see, which is almost infinitely vast, right? And it's kind of like expanding onward. And that is who you are. That's yourself. That entire being. And you are one point of view on that entire being. But as a being in this world, you have an ego. A certain amount of psychic energy is devoted to the maintenance of your physical form in this thing. And so a lot of people identify strongly with some aspect of that ego. So that is like who we are, right? That is who the original being was, is, you know. And we are all manifestations of that. We also are a center of consciousness connected to that whole being. But then, you know, like, you would be solipsistic and kind of like lonely, right? So you get the two, right? And I think I don't have time to go through all of, you know, the numbers 1 through 10 in terms of this, but, you know, once you have the two, you know, then you have this area of shared being, right? And this is called the Vesica Piscis, right?
Say it again?
Vesica Piscis,
Okay.
the vesicle of the fish. This, I'm surprised, I thought a lot of people were familiar with this. Because this area in sacred geometry, like if you use geometry to develop the different forms, all of the other numbers are born out of this. You have 1, 2, which the ancients didn't consider to be numbers. They were the parents of the numbers. Everything else comes to be born out of this. And it's a really, really fascinating thing. In terms of relationships, one of the things I just want to point out is that in any relationship, it's like, do I know Karen? I probably know Karen better than I know any of the other people here, you know. But here I am, here she is, right? This is the area of our interface where we say, oh yeah, I know Alex, I know Karen, right? Look at how much I don't know. And vice versa. And the thing is that everything in the one, too, it's a circle, right? So everything, so it rotates. So it works in cycles. And everything works in cycles, right? On those multidimensional levels, like you have biorhythms, intellectual, mental biorhythms, where sometimes your mind is clear, sometimes it's dull, right? You have emotional biorhythms, where sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. You have physical biorhythms, same thing with your body. There are times when you'll have more energy, times when you have less energy, just in a rhythmic pattern. If all 3 periods of high energy correspond at the same time, then you're like, wow, I feel great, life is like really great. If they're all down at the same time, you may feel like you're dragging, but it will pass. There are rhythms, right? And the same thing then in relationships. We're all going through different cycles. And so, you know, you try to put your best foot forward, but as you get to know somebody more, there is going to be a time where mentally, emotionally, or physically they are not there, right? That's not even counting all the garbage and baggage that we carry around with ourselves, the blocked energies, the different kinds of things, the things that you hide not only from others but from yourself. But invariably, at some time, they are going to manifest, right? And if you're not aware of them, other people certainly will be. They might try to point them out to you, and you'll think, oh, you're crazy, you know, that's not me. Then also, we all have different personality types. These are just kind of exploring reasons why relationships can be confusing. I mean, even in that kind of aspect, you can see there's so many different things going on. This is not a good